I want to start with something that may completely change the way you think about your health, especially if you've been dealing with leg pain, cold feet, cramping, or difficulty walking. Right now, there may be something sitting in your kitchen or bathroom cabinet that you believe is helping your body, but in reality, it could be silently making your leg circulation worse. And no, this isn't junk food. It's not sugar. It's not even lack of exercise. It's something millions of people trust every single day. Vitamins. I've spent decades studying blood flow, circulation, and vascular health, and what I'm about to share shocks almost everyone who hears it for the first time. Most people with poor leg circulation aren't suffering because they're doing nothing. They're suffering because they're doing the wrong things, based on advice they were told to trust. If you open your supplement cabinet right now, there's a good chance you'll find bottles of vitamin C, vitamin D, B-complex, magnesium, fish oil, maybe even herbal extracts that claim to boost circulation. You might be spending hundreds of dollars every month believing you're protecting your legs, your mobility, and your independence. But here's the hard truth. Most of those supplements do absolutely nothing to improve blood flow to your legs. Not a little. Not sometimes. Nothing measurable. And that's not my opinion, it's just what decades of clinical data and real patient outcomes show. Poor leg circulation doesn't improve just because a label promises it will. Blood flow follows biology, not marketing. This matters far more than people realize. When circulation in your legs declines, it's not just about discomfort. It's about losing freedom. Walking becomes painful. Standing feels exhausting. Stairs feel impossible. Even simple daily activities slowly turn into obstacles. The scariest part? The early warning signs are easy to ignore. Cold feet that never seem to warm up. Aching calves after short walks. Skin discoloration near the ankles. Cuts or sores on the feet that heal painfully slowly. These aren't normal aging issues. They're signals that blood is no longer reaching your legs the way it should. What I see again and again are people who are trying their best. Their counters are lined with supplement bottles. They've followed advice from friends, online articles, and even professionals. Yet their circulation continues to decline year after year. Why? Because improving leg circulation isn't about taking more vitamins. It's about knowing which ones actually matter, and which ones are simply draining your wallet. After reviewing hundreds of studies and tracking real changes in blood flow over time, the evidence points to a surprising conclusion. Out of everything marketed for circulation, only 2 vitamins consistently make a real difference, and only when they come from the right sources. In the next part, I'll explain why most circulation supplements fail, and why focusing on just 2 nutrients can make a bigger impact than an entire cabinet full of pills. Let me explain why so many well-known vitamins and supplements fail when it comes to leg circulation, even though they sound impressive on the label. Most circulation products are built on theoretical benefits, not real-world results. In theory, they should help. In practice, they don't. Take vitamin C, for example. It's often marketed for blood vessel strength. While vitamin C is important for general health, studies show it does not meaningfully increase blood flow to the legs or reverse circulation damage. The same goes for vitamin D. It supports immune function and bone health, but it does not reopen narrowed arteries or restore blood flow to your feet. Magnesium? Helpful for muscle relaxation, but it doesn't fix blocked or stiff blood vessels. Fish oil? Good for certain inflammatory conditions, but again, no consistent improvement in leg circulation has ever been measured in controlled trials. Then there are the herbal supplements, ginkgo biloba, horse chestnut extract, cayenne capsules, nitric oxide boosters like L-arginine. These products sound scientific and are heavily promoted online, but when researchers put them to the test using ultrasound and blood flow measurements, the results are underwhelming or non-existent. Here's the key reason they fail. Leg circulation problems are not caused by a lack of blood flow boosters. They're caused by structural damage inside the arteries themselves. Over time, calcium begins to build up in the arterial walls, especially in the legs. This process, known as arterial calcification, slowly turns flexible blood vessels into stiff, narrow pipes. When that happens, blood simply cannot move freely, no matter how many supplements you swallow. Most vitamins do nothing to remove this calcium buildup. They don't soften arteries. They don't reverse stiffness. They don't restore flexibility. That's why people take supplements for years and still see their walking distance shrink, their leg pain worsen, and their mobility fade. Another major issue is synthetic formulation. Most supplements contain isolated, lab-made versions of vitamins that your body doesn't recognize well. They're absorbed poorly, used inefficiently, and often flushed out before they can do anything useful. Even worse, some synthetic vitamins interfere with natural nutrient balance, making circulation worse instead of better. The supplement industry thrives on complexity. The more bottles you buy, the more complete you think your routine is. But your blood vessels don't respond to quantity, they respond to specific biological signals. After decades of clinical observation and research, one pattern became impossible to ignore. Patients who simplified their approach and focused on the right nutrients from real food consistently improved, while those chasing the latest supplement trend did not. That brings us to the turning point. Out of all vitamins studied for circulation, only 2 have shown consistent, measurable improvements in leg blood flow, and they work through completely different mechanisms. One removes calcium from your arteries. The other protects the delicate inner lining of your blood vessels. In the next part, I'll reveal the first vitamin that actually reverses arterial damage in the legs, and why most people are unknowingly deficient in it. This is where everything starts to make sense. If leg circulation were only about widening blood vessels, then many supplements would work. But it's not. The real enemy of healthy blood flow is something much more stubborn, and far more dangerous. Calcium buildup inside your arteries. Most people think calcium only affects bones. They believe more calcium automatically means stronger skeletons. But that's only half the story. Without the right guidance system in your body, calcium doesn't always go where it's supposed to go. Instead of strengthening bones, it begins depositing along the inner walls of your arteries, especially in the legs. Over time, these deposits harden, narrowing the space where blood is meant to flow. Think of it like mineral scale building up inside a water pipe. At first, you don't notice it. Then pressure drops. Eventually, the flow becomes weak and unreliable. This process is called arterial calcification, and it's one of the main reasons walking becomes painful, feet stay cold, and legs feel heavy or exhausted. Here's the shocking part. Taking calcium supplements without proper regulation can actually accelerate this process. I've seen imaging scans where arteries looked rigid and chalky, almost like concrete, while the person was faithfully taking calcium every single day. The missing piece is a specific vitamin most people have never been properly educated about. That vitamin is vitamin K2. Not vitamin K1. Not vitamin K generically. Specifically K2. Vitamin K2 has one critical job that no other vitamin can perform. It activates a protein that pulls calcium out of your arteries and sends it back where it belongs, into your bones. This protein acts like a cleanup crew, removing calcium from places it doesn't belong. Without enough K2, that cleanup never happens. That's why arteries stiffen with age. That's why circulation declines even in people who eat healthy. And that's why so many circulation supplements fail completely. Clinical studies have shown that people with higher K2 intake have significantly less arterial calcification and dramatically better vascular health. In long-term population studies, higher K2 intake was associated with lower rates of mobility loss, vascular disease, and circulation-related complications. But here's another mistake people make. They rush out and buy a K2 supplement, thinking the problem is solved. Unfortunately, most synthetic K2 supplements are poorly absorbed and inconsistently utilized by the body. Your system evolved to recognize K2 from fermented and natural food sources, not isolated lab compounds. The most powerful sources of natural K2 are fermented foods, foods humans have eaten for thousands of years. Traditional fermented foods contain forms of K2 your body instantly recognizes and uses efficiently. This is why certain populations that consume these foods daily maintain flexible arteries well into old age. Once calcium is removed from arterial walls, blood flow begins to improve naturally. Vessels become more elastic. Pressure drops. Oxygen reaches the muscles again. But removing calcium is only half the solution. In the next part, I'll explain why even clean arteries can fail if the inner lining isn't protected, and I'll reveal the second and final vitamin that completes the circulation repair process. Clearing calcium from your arteries is powerful, but it's not enough on its own. Even once arteries begin to soften, blood flow can still struggle if the inner lining of your blood vessels is damaged. This lining is called the endothelium, and it plays a role most people have never heard explained clearly. Your endothelium is a paper-thin layer of cells lining the inside of every artery and vein. When it's healthy, blood flows smoothly, quietly, and efficiently. When it's damaged, everything changes. The vessel becomes irritated. Inflammation increases. Blood cells start sticking where they shouldn't. Flow slows down. This is how circulation quietly worsens over time, even in people who eat reasonably well. What damages the endothelium? Oxidative stress. Everyday metabolism, environmental toxins, processed foods, and chronic inflammation slowly attack this delicate lining. Once damaged, arteries become rough on the inside, like sandpaper instead of glass. And here's the important part. There is one vitamin that consistently protects this lining when it comes from the right source. That vitamin is vitamin E, but not the version most people take. Most supplements contain only one isolated form of vitamin E. Your body, however, requires a full family of vitamin E compounds working together. When only one form is supplied, the balance is disrupted, and the benefit disappears. This is why large studies on synthetic vitamin E supplements repeatedly show little to no benefit for circulation. Your body doesn't work on single compounds. It works on systems. Natural vitamin E protects endothelial cells from oxidative damage, helping blood vessels remain smooth and flexible. When this protection is in place, blood flows more easily, pressure decreases, and circulation improves naturally, without forcing dilation or stressing the system. When people get enough natural vitamin E from real food, endothelial function improves measurably. Blood vessels respond better. Flow becomes steadier. Legs feel warmer, lighter, and less fatigued. This creates a powerful two-step repair process. Vitamin K2 removes calcium and stiffness. Natural vitamin E protects and restores the inner lining. Together, they address the two biggest causes of poor leg circulation. And here's what's critical. Both of these vitamins work best, and safely, when they come from whole foods, not pills. Whole foods contain supporting compounds that enhance absorption and prevent imbalance. This is something supplements simply cannot replicate. In the next part, I'll show you exactly which foods provide these two vitamins in their most effective forms, and how little you actually need each day. Now let's get practical, because knowing what works only matters if you know how to apply it correctly. When it comes to restoring leg circulation, the source of these vitamins matters just as much as the vitamins themselves. Your body is highly selective. It recognizes nutrients from real food far more efficiently than isolated, synthetic versions. Best natural sources of vitamin K2. Vitamin K2 is created primarily through fermentation. That's why it's nearly absent from modern processed diets. The most powerful natural source of K2 in the world is a traditional fermented food eaten for centuries. Just a small daily amount provides more usable K2 than most supplements. If that option isn't appealing, there are other effective choices. Aged cheeses. The longer a cheese is fermented and aged, the higher its K2 content. Egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens, not conventional eggs, but eggs from chickens that eat a natural diet. Grass-fed butter and certain organ meats, concentrated but used in small amounts. These foods supply K2 in a form your arteries actually respond to. When consumed daily, they activate the calcium removal process that slowly restores flexibility to blood vessels in the legs. Best natural sources of vitamin E. Vitamin E works differently. It protects blood vessels from the inside, and it needs to come as a complete package, not a single isolated compound. The richest food sources of natural vitamin E include sunflower seeds, almonds, and hazelnuts. Wheat germ, cold-pressed seed oils in small amounts. Just one small daily serving of these foods can provide everything your endothelial cells need for protection. What surprises most people is how little food is required. This isn't a complicated diet. It's a targeted nutritional strategy. What to stop doing immediately. This part is just as important. If you're taking supplements marketed specifically for circulation, understand this clearly. Adding these foods while continuing unnecessary supplements does not improve results. In many cases, synthetic supplements interfere with absorption and balance. That's why people who simplify their approach often see better outcomes than those stacking multiple products. You don't need a cabinet full of pills. You need consistency with the right foods. When patients follow this approach, changes begin quietly. Legs feel warmer. Cramping decreases. Walking feels easier. Standing longer doesn't cause the same fatigue. These aren't temporary boosts. They're structural improvements happening inside the blood vessels themselves. In the next part, I'll explain why simplifying your routine works better than complex supplement plans, and what happens when people finally stop chasing circulation gimmicks. By now, you may be realizing something important. Improving leg circulation isn't about doing more. It's about doing what actually works, and letting go of everything else. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that health requires complexity. Multiple supplements. Precise timing. Constant adjustments. New products every few months. That idea didn't come from biology. It came from marketing. Your blood vessels don't respond to trends. They respond to consistent biological signals. When those signals are clear and supported by real nutrition, the body does what it's designed to do: repair, restore, and rebalance. People who simplify their routine often see faster and more noticeable results because they remove interference. Synthetic supplements can compete with absorption, disrupt nutrient balance, and even blunt the benefits of real food-based nutrients. This is why patients who stop taking unnecessary circulation supplements frequently improve after stopping them, not before. When the body isn't overwhelmed, it can focus on repair. Here's what typically happens when someone commits to this simplified approach. Within 2 to 3 weeks, leg cramping becomes less frequent, feet feel warmer, especially at night, standing feels less exhausting. By 1 to 3 months, measurable improvements often appear. Blood vessels become more elastic, blood flow velocity increases, walking distance improves. People who once needed frequent rest breaks begin moving with confidence again. Not because they forced circulation, but because they removed what was blocking it. Another benefit most people don't expect is financial relief. When you stop buying multiple supplements each month, the savings add up quickly. Many people realize they were spending hundreds of dollars a year on products that delivered zero circulation benefit. That money is better spent on real food that actually nourishes the body. Now, a common concern comes up at this point. What about cholesterol? What about calories from nuts, cheese, or eggs? These fears are outdated. Dietary cholesterol has minimal impact on blood cholesterol for most people. Meanwhile, vitamin K2 actively reduces arterial stiffness, one of the strongest predictors of vascular risk. As for calories, nutrient-dense foods create real satiety. People often eat less overall because they feel satisfied instead of craving processed snacks. This approach doesn't burden the body. It supports it. In the final part, I'll show you exactly how to put this into a simple daily routine, what results to expect over 90 days, and how to know if your circulation is truly improving. Let's bring everything together into something simple, realistic, and sustainable. You don't need a complicated plan. You don't need dozens of supplements. And you don't need to constantly guess whether something is working. Here's a clear daily routine designed to support leg circulation naturally. Your daily circulation routine. Each day, include one source of vitamin K2 and one source of natural vitamin E from real food. That's it. For vitamin K2, choose 1, a small serving of a fermented food, a portion of aged, fermented cheese, egg yolks from pasture-raised chickens. For vitamin E, choose 1, a handful of sunflower seeds, a serving of raw almonds or hazelnuts, a tablespoon of wheat germ mixed into food. You don't need to rotate endlessly or measure obsessively. Consistency matters far more than precision. What changes to expect? Most people notice the first improvements within 2 weeks. Legs feel less heavy. Nighttime cramping decreases. Feet stay warmer. By 30 days, walking becomes easier. Standing feels less tiring. You may notice improved endurance without consciously trying. By 90 days, the changes are often undeniable. Circulation improves because the underlying causes, arterial stiffness and endothelial damage, are being addressed directly. This is not a temporary boost. It's restoration. Track your progress. Pay attention to how far you can walk comfortably, how your legs feel at the end of the day, whether swelling, cramping, or aching has decreased. These are real indicators of circulation health. A final perspective: your body knows how to heal when it's given the right tools. For decades, people have been sold the idea that health lives in bottles. In reality, it lives in habits and real nourishment. 2 nutrients. Real food. Consistent results. That's the formula. If this information helped you, remember, knowledge only matters when it's applied. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Your health matters, and staying informed is one of the best decisions you can make. Stay healthy, stay active, and take care of your circulation, starting today.